Today we'll be starting off a brand new series of videos. I have been recording this video though in between other content, so my voice has been dying on me a little bit. Keep that in mind as we make our way through the video. There may be times where my voice is a little off. Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we will be exploring a whole new type of deep dive content. Today, we will be covering possibly one of the most well-developed characters in all of modern gaming. Our girl Rapi. Rapi is perhaps one of the best developed characters I've ever witnessed in possibly all of gaming history. And definitely the best developed in all of my time as a gamer. She has a tremendous amount of backstory and a fairly sad backstory, but has seen a hell of a lot of growth over the course of the story these last 2 years. She's been alive well over 60 years after all. But today, we will explore her backstory and the evolution of one of the best character development stories I've ever witnessed in all of gaming history. Now, without further ado, let's dive right on into the thick of it. So how did Rapi, who is a very emotionally closed off individual for the better part of 60 years, go from this to this in only the span of around 2 years of chronological story events? Well, that is what we're going to be exploring. I think first and foremost, we should probably explain a fair amount of Rapi's backstory. Rapi is a girl who spent the majority of her human life in a hospital, confined to a bed. She came to idolize Nietzsche's as she was hearing about the First Reclamation War and them fighting for humanity, but it ultimately ended in failure. She started to see the Nietzsche she idolized treated horrifically, and was quite disheartened. She was often close with one of the nurses who cared for her, and often spoke to her of these things and these feelings. But the nurse was eventually killed in one of the protests that were advocating for Nietzsche's rights that this nurse actively participated in. This shook Rapi for some time. She was eventually cured of her condition, not too long after the incident with the nurse. But the hospital was forced to quit housing her as it was forced to close down due to lack of funds. She was given some money by the doctor who cared for her and told to go to an address on a slip of paper, which would then serve as her residence. There is only one problem. She did not know how to read the address and was barely entering her teenage years at the time. Nobody would look at her, a poor, barely teenage blonde girl in a white nightgown and no shoes, much less give her the time of day or answer her questions. She wandered the streets for some time before she eventually found her way into a Nietzsche rights protest. As she was making her way into the area, the central government started a crackdown on the protest, unleashing bombs and gunfire upon the crowd of protesters, both human and Nietzsche alike, much to the little Rapi's horror. Anike came across her and tried to help her to safety, but ultimately ended up dying. Only then Rapi then started to flee the scene, but a soldier saw her and started shooting at her, ultimately killing her. Not long after this, she was turned into a mass-produced Nike, as she had no sense of self, having only spent her time in a hospital before being gunned down in the street in a horrific government soldier crackdown. She did not possess the qualities to be turned into a specialized Nikkei. After many missions with a particular squad, just after she started to open up to one of her squad mates, her entire squad perished. And she retrieved all of their heads single-handedly to try and make it back to the Ark and revive them, but only after she was forced to kill the corrupted squad member that she had started to open up to and consider a friend. In a true tragedy. After making it back, she was awarded medals and a large sum of credits, this world's money. But a few jealous individuals provoked Rapi into a fight, which resulted in her going to the rehabilitation center. She eventually found her way into another squad once she was let out, but that squad also faced the same fate as her previous squad. This repeated for some time, until eventually the Second Surface Reclamation War was announced. She was eventually sent into battle for the better part of 2 years in a campaign where the mortality rate was above 90% per an individual mission in this campaign. And she participated in this campaign for 2 years. Rapi came to be known as the Red Reaper because everyone around her died, except for her. She was eventually separated and one day encountered a lone corrupted Nikkei known as Red Hood, who at this point was a relic of the past who's lived over 40 years. They came to befriend each other and traveled together for some time. Red Hood tried to get Rapi to discover herself and dares her to make a wish. Rapi eventually caves and makes a wish, even though it's not her true wish. To which Red Hood catches on but plays along anyways. Well, they travel to the lift, a space elevator that travels to the space station out in space. Red Hood trains Rapi in her way of combat along their travels. Her way of combat is highly unconventional to the modern time, but very mobile. Rapi comes a long way, both in terms of emotionally opening up to Red Hood, but also in terms of her combat ability. They eventually make it to the lift, at which point they eventually come under attack. Rapi gets separated and knocked into a crevice, and she believes both her and Red Hood are going to die. So she doesn't respond as Red Hood keeps calling to her while fighting the raptors up above. Eventually things quiet down and she comes to the conclusion that Red Hood must be dead. Not even a few moments later, Red Hood drops down into the crevice and they reunite. It's at this point that Rapi finally fully opens up to Red Hood and consider her a true friend. They eventually find a mysterious individual known as Deep, at which point they get repaired and they move back on their way. As they are on their way back to the Ark, Red Hood fully succumbs to the corruption and passes away happily. At which point Rapi cries until she falls asleep, but when she wakes up, Red Hood is nowhere to be seen. This is something that she was not sure what she was witnessing, but she resolves to move back to the Ark. She eventually makes it back to the Ark after the course of 4 years and over 300 battles, to which she is immediately examined by Elysian CEO Ingrid. It's found that not only has she fused with another body core, Red Hood's, she has also honed her sense of identity over those 4 years, and she is upgraded into a specialized Nikkei with a new body. But no matter how many times they try to recreate her body to try and get rid of the second core she is fused with, it keeps reappearing, so they undergo testing, at which point they find out it was Red Hood when an accident occurred and she underwent a complete transformation, both body and mind, turning into Red Hood. They then find a way to turn her back and determine messing with the second core or utilizing it in any way outside of a certain parameter is absolutely too much of a risk and forbid her from using the second core. She later goes on to join the members of Absolute before falling out with them after she accidentally kills a human with a grenade, but is upset with herself not because she killed them, but because she was annoyed she'd have to write a report about the person she killed. At which point she then reflects and decides to leave Absolute. She bounces around for a short time trying to find her place in the world before eventually ending up with Anise and forming a strong bond with her and becoming close friends. Not long after this, she comes to meet the commander who we play as in the main story of Nikke. It's at this point that she comes under our orders and we start to lead her as her commander. Over the course of many long story chapters, she starts to bond with us as well as Neon and Nis as we complete many long and oftentimes what many would consider in the world impossible missions that we never should have made it out of alive, much less successful. At some point in the story, when the commander and the counters first meet Absolute, Emma of Absolute asks Rapi if she's found it, which I can only assume it refers to a place she belongs. But she replies that she isn't sure yet. At some point when she starts to open up to the commander, well before we meet Absolute in the later chapters, Rapi has a very meaningful conversation with the commander, and rather than simply summarize it, I think it's best that we witness it word for word. Shortly after getting back from our second mission together, she asks us to wait outside before having this conversation with the commander.
How long can we survive in such a desolate place? Going back to what I wanted to say earlier, I'd like to make it clear that we Nikkes are not humans. We are weapons. Formidable and unkillable weapons meant for dispatching mankind's sworn enemy, the Raptures. It's common practice for Nikke to come back with a new appearance after being severely damaged. So you can wipe that look off your face. Commander, what do you see us as? I'm flattered that you treat us with human dignity. However, this will only hurt you in the end. The longer you stay with us, the more you will view us as some kind of other. I hope you will keep this in mind. It's getting late. Let's go to bed.
Rapi has been through damn near 60 years of fairly traumatizing events that would traumatize most people. Yet she still shows no signs of PTSD. Well, that is the case, and she doesn't have a lot of trauma, if any at all, that she shows. She finds it hard to get close to people and other Nikkes. Rapi is very out of touch with her emotions, and she often doesn't let herself get in touch with her feelings or overall let how she feels influence her actions or her thoughts whatsoever. She often finds it hard to let herself care for people because for the majority of her life, everyone she lets herself care for ends up dying. Rapi is a very down-to-earth and realistic person who tends to prepare for the worst case situation, even though she doesn't always expect it to happen. Rapi tends to be very analytical and tends to look at things through a logical perspective in almost every situation instead of an emotional one. That's just who she is, personality-wise, as of now. However, as the story progresses, especially at the point when we move out to the frozen north in chapter 5 and later, she starts to care for the commander more than she used to, starts to see him as a valuable and important companion more than just her commanding officer. This is an interesting little twist, and it starts to become prevalent. This starts becoming even more prominent when we learn that Marion is alive in later chapters and that she has become Modernia. And it especially starts to become obvious when we decide to save Marion and in the effort to do so get nearly fatally injured. So Rapi, while attempting to save us, also takes a huge risk to subdue Marion, calling upon her second core and driving it to damn near the limit of its capability and risk factor in an attempt to save us. Even later on in the story, it starts to become painfully and glaringly obvious that Rapi has started developing feelings for the commander. Obviously, talking about the romantic variety here, and this becomes even more obvious to Anise and Neon, though the commander is still oblivious, per the usual. The commander and the counters later on promise to Rapi to bring her back in the really late chapters when she goes berserk to fight the three heretics that invade the Ark later on. She makes a very heartfelt plea to us, and we promise to her that we will honor it. This is when the counters later on learn that she has fused with Red Hood. Red Hood, and then we meet up with Red Hood, who happens to be the transformed Rapi, but it is Red Hood and not Rapi. Red Hood can even sense Rapi's feelings, obviously for the commander here is what we're talking about, and offhandedly comments on them to the commander, to which he finds it hard to believe, and it ends up getting brushed off by both of them at the time. Later on, in chapter 34, when they are fighting Behemoth and Leviathan, and Rapi gets trapped in the Black Sea, Rapi fully takes Red Hood into herself and fully dedicates herself to living for herself and not just for Red Hood's mission or her sense of duty. There's a paradigm shift in her way of thinking. And this causes her to fully assimilate Red Hood and transform her body into something new with a vastly increased strength. As a result of her deciding to move forward with her life and her as a person, she ends up starting to get more in touch with her emotions. Now, this is only conjecture, but it is a fairly reasonable assumption given old information and new information. Her fully assimilating Red Hood into herself, including some of her vague memories and powers, may mean that she has assimilated part of Red Hood's personality as well, which would even further explain why it's easier for her to now get in touch with her emotions. Not long after we return to the Ark after the events of chapter 34, namely from what we see in the Rapi Red Hood character variant Spawn stories that take place immediately afterwards, it becomes painfully obvious that she is more in touch with her emotions, and to some degree, she even begins to act on her feelings towards the commander, even to some small extent. It's at this point that rather than just be his subordinate, it seems Rapi is more intent on being something closer to a more equal partner or a equal companion with the commander, as evidenced later on in the Footstep Walk Run event before the flashbacks, when she says to the commander to watch over her rather than just her protecting him. It is clear that there is a big paradigm shift in her relationship with him as well and how she sees it. As the story has been ongoing even after that point, it becomes more and more evident how much she has come to terms with the new her and how she feels, and how much more in touch with her emotions she is becoming. She still seeks to protect the commander and to do her duty to reclaim the surfaces of Nikke, but in a very short amount of time, only 2 years chronologically, she has grown to also accept her personal feelings and to tap into them more. She seeks to do her duty, but to also have something more than just her duty to focus on now. She seeks to fulfill herself on top of fulfilling the mission that Red Hood gave her. She doesn't just seek to become Red Hood now. She seeks to become her own person with the legacy that Red Hood passed on to her. It's a very unique shift in her way of thinking, her logic, and how in touch with her feelings she has become. And now, with the release of the summer 2025 event, we have even more growth from Rapi and more character changes and appeal to explore, which we're going to be going into right now. Rapi has been reaching levels of boldness and expressiveness that are truly shocking. She's really been cutting loose in this event and recent story chapters, and has really been starting to embrace herself and a little bit of something extra. I'll go into that in just a little bit. For now, though, let's just take a look at some of the pieces of the event and kind of how much different she's been acting compared to how we first started out. Fair warning, there's mild spoilers, but nothing major to the event. Just a few little clips. We're just going to go over a few little clips of voice lines and some of the interactions she's been having in this event. It's really been shocking to see how she's been acting. She's really starting to cut loose. I'm loving it.
I'm glad. Now, if you don't mind, you can leave.
Look at this.
Rapi turns the tablet that she is holding towards Dorothy. It's the same picture of the cruise ship Alex showed us earlier.
I'm telling you, I'm not interested.
The ship here is a luxury cruise ship. Don't you want to ride it?
No, I don't.
I thought a luxury cruise would be right up your alley.
Seems it wasn't just your hair color that changed, but your brain got affected as well.
I was only kidding. Here, take a look.
What? I don't see anything.
Don't you think the water current here resembles a heart?
Are you sure you don't have a screw loose?
Just kidding again. Okay, for real now. Look over here.
You're starting to irritate me. Please leave.
Look at the window.
Rapi points to the blurry human-like figure standing in the window.
I don't think that's a trick of the light. It might be a Nikke. Or potentially, even a human. Dorothy, are you shaking because you're scared?
Please stop talking. I'm begging you.
Let's go together. All you'll do otherwise is stay inside all day watching TV and drinking tea. You should get some fresh air once in a while.
You'd be surprised how productive I am.
Okay, what is it exactly that you do?
It's a secret.
Come on, be serious now.
About what?
You're coming, right?
Were you always this stubborn?
Oh yeah, I think I was just holding it in until now.
She's really been starting to get pushier as of late, starting to remind me a lot of Red Hood. While I've been hearing some people in the community say that she's just starting to resemble a carbon copy of Red Hood, this isn't actually even her personality. I kind of beg to differ. I've been paying close attention to detail the entire time I've been playing through the story, and there's kind of always been hints. But I mean, she even comes up and says it outright that she's always been this stubborn. She's just been holding it in. It's kind of been obvious for a little while now. She's kind of come a long way and kind of loose. I'm really starting to love seeing her grow and be a little more expressive. But there's still more to show.
Having a member of Seraphim with us is reassuring. We won't have to worry about getting a bit rough and tumble.
Excuse me?
I'm just glad Mary isn't the one who came along. She's a force to be reckoned with. What with her massive, heaving, pendulous, personality. I hate to admit it, but I don't stand a chance against her in that department.
I don't think I need to explain that one. You get it, you get it.
I'm not here for any particularly dramatic reason. Apparently there's a shopping area inside this cruise ship, so I'm considering this a business trip to check out potential new products. This ship may be old, but fashion trends are always cyclical. Also, the whole point of a cruise is for them to have everything you could possibly want on board. It'll be helpful to see which products they push the hardest.
If you come along,
Hey, what's the big idea? How come I don't get any compliments like the others?
The only real benefit to you coming is that you'll potentially find good items for cheap. And I have my doubts as to whether a 100-year-old cruise ship is going to have much to offer. There's only so much a merchant can offer, sadly.
Rookie, do something about her.
What am I supposed to do?
Make her stop talking.
I don't know, Commander. I think it may be too early for a kiss.
Yeah, she's really starting to be a jokester, ain't she? But yeah, it's just she's really seen a lot more expressiveness. But hey, wait, there's fucking more.
Aren't you getting changed?
No,
Why not?
there's no reason to.
Did you not bring a swimsuit? You did, didn't you? Here, follow me.
Huh?
Rapi pulls Dorothy by the hand.
Hey, you shouldn't touch people without their permission. What the? Why are you so strong? Let go of me. I won't say it again. What are you doing?
So white. So soft.
Be quiet, Will.
To not show off assets like this would be a crime.
You're the one committing a crime right now.
If I must resort to evil in order to ensure that the right thing is done, so be it.
Were you dropped on your head at some point? Oh,
Uh-huh. So this is how I get you to be quiet. I ought to let the commander know about this.
a word of this to anyone, and you're dead.
Now, stay still. Oh, yes. This swimsuit you brought suits you perfectly.
Then, Miss Dorothy and I will...
Actually, I have my eye on somewhere specific. Sorry, but I'll go on my own.
Why don't I join you?
Thanks, but no thanks. I prefer going solo.
How about Miss Rapi and Mr. Commander?
I'm concerned about the sleeping quarters, and was considering bringing the commander along to check it out.
Shouldn't we be looking into why this place is lit up?
You're the light of my life, Commander. So checking you out is my top priority.
So that is it for the event. Rapi was once a sheltered girl who knew nothing and had no sense of self. She certainly didn't know how to express her emotions. She was like this for the better part of 60 years. That being the case roughly until she met the commander. At which point she really started to open up and become ever so slightly more in touch with her emotions, albeit never really acting on them or letting them show overtly. Later on, though, after a fateful meeting and conversation with Raven Cinderella, she started to reflect and decided to start becoming her own person by being more in touch with how she feels. After the battle with Behemoth and her decision to live for what she wants in life, in tandem with inheriting Red Hood's legacy and realizing the meaning of that inheritance, she transforms physically into what she is now and starts to really begin to cut loose, if only slightly. Fast forward to the summer event after some time has passed, and we can see she's become almost an entirely different person from who she was originally. Except she hasn't. She's only started to embrace herself and be true to who she is. All of this culminating in one of the best, if not the best, character development story I have ever witnessed in all of my years as a gamer. That's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like and subscribe, as well as hit the bell for all notifications. I intend on doing more videos of this nature, exploring the backstories and character development stories of characters. Just deep dives over the characters. I intend on doing more videos of this nature in the future, as I find time, as there are many other characters in this game and incredibly interesting stories as well. I will see y'all in the next video. Thank y'all for watching.